Will the Dallas Cowboys repeat as NFC East champions? All that and more in this episode of the Locked On Cowboys podcast.
You are Locked On Cowboys, your daily Dallas Cowboys podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked on Cowboys. Locked on Cowboys.
Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We want to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We are free and available on all platforms. And today's episode is brought to you by Brightco Jewelry and Watch Insurance. Brightco brings you comprehensive, fast, and affordable jewelry insurance for as low as $5 per month. Check out your special offer for Locked On listeners and get covered in under 2 minutes at bright.co/locked on. That is bright.co/locked on. I am Marcus Mosher. You can follow me on Twitter at Marcus_Mosher. He is Landon McCool. Check him out on Twitter at McCoolBCB. Landon, how you doing today, sir?
Doing well. We are well on our way to getting into training into the regular season, week one, and first week against Tampa Bay Bucs is going to be a very good game. I'm excited. It's weird that it's Wednesday already, and it's also weird that we're doing
coming out today. By the way,
I know it's crazy, and it's also weird that it's because of the way that the holiday worked that we're doing questions on Wednesday.
Yep.
But we're just improvising. We're ready to go. We're doing whatever it takes to get into the regular season swing of things.
Yeah, we've got some really good questions, but let's start with this one, Landon. A lot of people want to know, what are our season predictions for the Dallas Cowboys this year? How many wins? Do they make the playoffs? Do they win the NFC East? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think as we stand right now, I think that I think they will win the NFC East. I think obviously that means that they'll make the playoffs. I'm thinking somewhere in the realm of 10-6.
7 now, 10-7 because of the
10-7. Sorry, 10-7.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that I think the Eagles probably will have a very similar kind of close to record. I think it's going to be close, the race for sure. But I am going to pick the Cowboys to win. I am going to make them pick them to make the playoffs. I think it's really too hard to kind of predict anything beyond that. Frankly, it's hard enough to predict that, to be honest.
All right, so I also have the Cowboys at 10-7 this year. I think the Giants and the Commanders are going to be just bad, and I think the Cowboys are going to sweep both those teams. And I actually think the Cowboys are going to sweep the Eagles. I do have the Eagles going 10-7 as well, but I do think the Cowboys win the division because they've historically, at least under Dak Prescott, have done really well against their division opponents. So yeah, I've got them winning the NFC East. But beyond that, I just have a hard time seeing them being able to beat teams like the Packers, the Rams, the Bucs in the playoffs. But I still think this is a very, very good team.
I think by the time that they need to beat those teams, this could be a very different team. So it'll be interesting to see. Like that's really the kind of the thing for the Cowboys this year is how different are they going to look week 16 versus week 1, like going into the end of the season versus going into the beginning of the season.
I will also say I feel like, barring like a massive injury to Dak Prescott, like the range is pretty small here for the Cowboys. Like I kind of feel like 9-11 wins. Like there's like a 95% chance they end up with somewhere between 9 and 11 wins. Other than that, like something drastically bad or good would have to happen for the Cowboys to be like a 13-win team, right?
Yeah, because I think the level of improvement that we're shooting for is going to be ongoing. So I think you may be right. The seasonal range of outcomes is probably pretty short. Like it's not a very broad range of outcomes. But I do think that if they get into the playoff, the playoff range of outcomes
that's
could
where
be
it's
wide.
different. Right.
Because I think that, like by that time, the team could have grown or in some cases, I guess, gotten worse as the year has gone on. And so those range of outcomes could definitely be a lot wider than maybe what we consider to be regular season range of outcomes.
All right, let's get to some more questions. But before we do that, we want to tell you about bright.co. I've told this story a couple times on the podcast before. I had a friend who lost an engagement ring on the Ferris wheel. You don't want to be that guy, and you certainly don't want it to be splattered all over the internet like this guy was. The guys at Brightco Jewelry Insurance make sure that you can get a replacement for the full value of that ring, no matter if it's lost, stolen, or you just misplaced it. It's the fastest and easiest and cheapest way to cover your butt with the best jewelry insurance in the business. These guys at Brightco are just absolute geniuses. They've made buying insurance for your engagement ring, your watch, or whatever so easy that you can get covered in 2 minutes on your cell phone. That's it. You don't have to show up to a place. You can just call, get it done right there. We all hate insurance, but Brightco.co has turned the entire experience around. It's probably the easiest thing you're going to do all week. No excuses. $5 a month can get you totally comprehensive coverage, and it won't take you more than 2 minutes on your cell phone. Check it out, bright.co/locked-on. Again, bright.co/locked-on. That's all you have to do to get the absolute best insurance for your watch, jewelry, engagement ring, etc. All right, let's get to some more questions, Landon. This next one. Who do you think scores an unexpected touchdown for the Cowboys against the Buccaneers?
I mean, this is the team of unexpected touchdowns, isn't it? Last year, they broke the NFL record for most players scoring a touchdown, if I'm not mistaken. So, who's the unexpected? Okay, I got one. Matt Farniak.
There you go. That is unexpected, right? Unless you're a diehard Locked On Cowboys listener. What about like Kevontae Turpin, right? Like, I could see the Cowboys doing some kind of wild stuff with him, partly because I have a feeling in this game, if the Cowboys just play this like a straight up game where they're just trying to run the ball, get to third and manageable, and win that way, I'm not sure that the offense is going to be able to put up enough points. So they're going to have to find ways to generate offense. So maybe it's a double pass to Turpin. Maybe it's like a double screen that we saw them use at TCU with Turpin, like something like that to kind of just get the offense going.
Yeah, I mean, beyond the fact that I think this offense wants to do stuff like that, anyways. That's kind of built in. So I think Turpin is a guy that is probably the actual good guess here, right? Of guy who could potentially score a touchdown. Farniak is a guy that's like there's a 2.5% chance that he's going to score a touchdown. There's an outsider's chance that you could see Turpin score a touchdown. So if you're trying to get a bet going with those good odds, that may be the one to actually win some money on.
More likely to score a touchdown: Conor McGovern, Matt Farniak, or Trayvon Diggs in this game? Probably Diggs, right?
Diggs, yeah. I was gonna say, I think Diggs. Maybe.
All right. We had several different people ask about the Cowboys 12 personnel, and if that's the way to beat Tampa Bay. We know that Tampa Bay was really good against the run last year. Do you think instead of the Cowboys trying to spread things out, maybe the better plan would just to be put some tight ends on the field and try to win that way?
I mean, I think mixing it up is going to be the solution. I don't think relying too heavily on one formation is what this offense wants to do. I mean, I think they want to mix it up and create mismatches and constantly keep the defense guessing. I think the 12 personnel is going to definitely be more useful this year than maybe it was last year.
I would say, especially early in the season, right?
Yeah, just to kind of provide some stability there, right? And I think that the personnel talent is probably, easily as on par at this point, right? Until you get Gallup back. So I think the 12 personnel is going to be useful simply because it is also going to provide some protection options for your quarterback a little bit. You got a pair of young tackles playing, so having some tight ends over there, whether they're not they actually pass block or not, I think it's
just to clog things up a little bit, right? Yep. So Jack Barrett and Joe Tryon can't get free, rushes off the edge, like just to do some things like that. It's probably the way to go, at least. And you're right. The answer is probably not just using one personnel package. It's going from 12 on first down to 21 on second down to 11 on third down, back to something wild on the next first down. Like that's how you're going to beat the Buccaneers, is by confusing them, or at least a little bit.
Yeah, and finding the personnel group that creates the biggest mismatch. I mean, it may not be as obvious to us before the game, and then once you get into the game, you see, they may have a flaw in their defense that doesn't account for what you're doing when you get into your 12 package. So those are all things that you're kind of just testing weaknesses early on to see what's going to work. But I do think that they will use a lot of 12 personnel simply because I think it helps protect these tackles. It helps it helps in the run game a little bit, and it gives you opportunity to deploy guys like Ferguson and Schultz, who despite being tight ends, they're good receivers, and they can create mismatches as needed.
All right, next question, Landon. This is from Gore. He says, it's fair to say that the NFL is a week-to-week league, but what, if anything, could the Cowboys take away from their Week 1 loss last year against Tampa Bay this time around?
Well, I mean, I think, they threw the football a ton last year against the Tampa Bay game. I think Dak ended up with something like almost 50 pass attempts or something like that.
They decided not to run the ball.
Yeah, I think that was a way to win the game, but I think that they would probably rather continue to control and run the football a little bit better than they did in that game. And just because it gives you more options than to have to get into a shootout with Tom Brady. I think that they definitely don't want to try to do that this year, especially early in the season without Gallup. And I think that running the football more effectively is going to help your young tackles as well. So I'm hoping that they've done whatever they needed to do to kind of help change up the run game a little bit to give them some more options. I do think that they tended to try to run out of the spread too much last year. So I think that they need to find a way to kind of find some stable footing in the run game. That doesn't mean running on first and second down every down, but they do need to find more efficiency in the run game to be able to use that, because if they become one-dimensional in the passing game and suddenly this becomes a shootout, Dak is incredible, and I think he can win a shootout with Tom Brady, but it's just probably not the best way to do that. I mean, especially with an offensive line that's could potentially give you trouble, a wide receiver core that's inexperienced. Tom Brady is still Tom Brady, and they have, some good receivers on their side as well. Being able to control the game a little bit better with your run game, and then allow your defense to kind of take the lead in some of this stuff and be a little bit more aggressive, that might be more of a winning strategy than kind of taking the risk of trying to go into a full shootout mode with Tom Brady and the Buccaneers.
Yeah, first and foremost, neither team really ran the ball a lot last year. So Leonard Fournette led the Bucs in rushing yards with 32 on 9 carries. Ezekiel Elliott, 11 carries, 33 yards. Tony Pollard, 3 carries, 14 yards. And that's it for running backs for both teams. Like, they just had no interest in running the ball. The Cowboys threw the ball 58 times in that game. I actually agree with you. I think the Cowboys have to be better at running the ball. They can't have, I don't know, what did Zeke average? 3.0 yards per carry last time. For me, it's finding different ways to run the ball, right? Maybe this is a game where Turpin gets 3 carries, right? A couple jet sweeps, a couple plays where you motion him in the backfield and you toss it. I don't think this is a game also where you want to run the ball outside, because Tampa Bay is so fast with their linebackers. But maybe this is a game where you try to get Pollard involved early to see if he can, hit a gap and make a lot of big plays. But I do think they've got to try to at least keep this somewhat balanced in offense, so there's not so many 3rd and 10s for Tampa Bay just to tee off on Tyler Smith, right?
I think some more power run game stuff where you can down block on guys like Vita Vea.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's obviously a lot of wide zone in our offense. I think I would probably avoid that just because of the things we talked about, the speed.
They're so fast, and they're so fast, and their defensive linemen are so good against the run. Remember, they've got Akeem Hicks as well. So,
and that's the other thing you got to worry about Vita Vea and Akeem Hicks backdooring those weak side runs. So you try to down block the guys inside, and then get some of your guards and tackles up to the second level to block some of these linebackers. Maybe you'll have some better success hitting those kind of plays.
Totally agree. All right, let's get to the next question. Another one from Goran, who wants to know, Now that the games are being played, we can officially stop saying that players are in the best shape of their life or it's contract season. Who is your pick to maximize contract season and ball out for a new deal this offseason for the Cowboys? He mentions Dalton Schultz, but he doesn't want us to say that one.
God
Is
dang
there
it.
anybody else?
Well, Dalton Schultz is who I was about to say.
Yeah, Dalton Schultz is the obvious. He's going to have a monster season. We kind of know that.
This is probably one that isn't being thought about a lot. But Tristan Hill is a guy that, could really, really change his fortune if he had a big season this year. I mean, he's just been thrown every bad luck thing you can think of. I mean, he's not always helped himself at times, but I think that he's gone through more bad luck than, frankly, he deserves. I thought he's had an incredible training camp. He's looked really good. He's going to be a heavy part of this rotation. He's a guy that could really, really change his fortune if he could have a really impressive year this year. He's got every opportunity. He's surrounded by talent. This is an opportunity for him to make a whole bunch of money.
That's a good one. I got a different one for you. What about Terence Steele? Going into year 3, he's eligible for a contract extension after this year. He'll have 1 year left on his deal. We saw a big jump in his play from year 1 to year 2. Now, I know a lot of people were worried about him because of some of the preseason clips and training camp clips, but what if he takes another step like he did last year and kind of establishes himself as a top 15 right tackle in the league? I could see the Cowboys rewarding him with a big contract next offseason.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, they've committed to him. I mean, they got rid of La'el Collins. They made him the starter. They're pot committed to him. So if he does well and he shows out, I have a hard time thinking that they're not going to give him a bunch of money to hang around as an offensive tackle.
Completely agree. I would also say Conor McGovern, somebody who is in a contract year, right? Like Conor McGovern didn't play at all as a rookie, was a backup in year 2. Year 3 started to play a little bit more. We saw flashes against Tampa Bay last year, actually, of him starting to look like a good NFL player. What if he just takes a hold of that left guard job and becomes a average to above average guard in the NFL? We just saw Connor Williams get a big payday for Miami. Why couldn't Conor McGovern do something similar?
Yeah, I mean, I think that McGovern could be every bit as good as Connor Williams, if not better. I mean, I think he has he doesn't quite have the development of technique that Williams did, but at the same time, I felt like he doesn't have the same kind of fatal flaw either. Mm-hmm. So if this is an opportunity, that the Tyron Smith injury is more of an opportunity for Conor McGovern than it is for Tyler Smith. Smith was going to be on the field. McGovern is now kind of assured a starting spot, at least until Jason Peters comes back. So,
and if McGovern plays well enough, maybe he doesn't coming back, right?
Yeah, it's kind of what we talked about yesterday. Is like the best case scenario for this team is that Conor McGovern and Tyler Smith play fantastic, and Jason Peters doesn't need to see the field. If that works out, obviously another part of that is Conor McGovern potentially signing a big deal in this offseason, whether it be with the Cowboys or another team.
Ezekiel Elliott?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good, Pollard as well, right?
I mean, both those guys, like whatever one looks better, I got a feeling they're probably going to keep in 2023.
Yeah, I mean, I think, we'll see. I think that the possibility at the running back position for 2023 is wide open. So God only knows what's going to happen. Yeah. But I think that both of those guys, could tend to either make a bunch of money or potentially just not lose as much money in the case of Ezekiel Elliott, depending on how they play this year. So I do think that it's there's money on their mind.
Both those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right, we got one more question to get to, but before we do that, I want to tell you about Prize Picks. Pick 2 to 5 players, and if they score more or less than their Prize Pick projection, you win. And in fact, you can win up to 10 times your money on any entry. No competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. Prize Picks offers projections on just about any sport you watch. That includes NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, PGA, college football, men's college basketball, women's college basketball, soccer, WNBA, esports, NASCAR, tennis, MMA, boxing, disc golf, Euro basketball, cricket, and more. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy. Plus, they are operational in over 30 states and Canada right now. All you have to do is download the Prize Pick app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. If you deposit $100, they'll give you $100. If you deposit $25, they'll give you $25. Don't forget to use promo code Locked On at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100. All right, last question, Landon. This one from Joe. Other than winning the game, what needs to happen on Sunday for you to be optimistic about the Cowboys for the rest of this season?
I think, it's about seeing individuals play, a lot. I mean, I think definitely my eyeballs are going to be on the left side of that offensive line. I mean, I think that's clear. Obviously that's a spot where we've been waiting to see exactly what we're going to get. And it's a lot of unknown. We've only been watching Tyler Smith as a left guard. So a lot of us are seeing Tyler Smith play left tackle against professional football players for the first time. I mean, all of us basically are seeing him play left tackle against professional football players for the first time. I think that, on the flip side of that, it's hard not to kind of be enthralled by what this defense can do.
Yeah.
If the defense, shows out the way that we expect it to, if they are able to continue to stop the run against Tampa.
Let's say they lose like 19-17, but it's the defense that's kind of carrying them, and they lose, right? I'll still be encouraged because it's like, you know what? We know the offense is going to get better once Michael Gallup gets back. Maybe once Jason Peters gets healthy, like we can expect the offense to get better. But if the defense is like playing out of their mind and they lose, I'll still probably be pretty encouraged.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, the expectation as it is right now is that the defense should play well. I mean, I'm expecting that the defense is good. It's got talent. We've got depth. We've got continuity. The defense should be good. If the defense isn't good, then we can. That's a concern, right?
If they lose like 34-27, I'll actually be more concerned that way, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the defense, needs to show us how good they are.
Yeah.
I think for the offense, they need to show signs of certain segments of the offense need to show signs of competence with the ability to improve. Specifically, the left side of the offensive line. Some of the down roster wide receivers. If you see Noah Brown getting in there, getting 2 or 3 catches, that's great. If you see some of these down rosters guys getting in there and then converting targets into receptions, that's really good. The hope, as you mentioned, is that you're ramping up this young offense into being better as the road goes on. And with the defense, you've got so many players that are so good that you're going to be able to rotate them in and out throughout the season and to try to keep them fresh. So we need to kind of see a baseline of talent on the offense to provide us some kind of hope that they'll continue to get better as the season goes on. If Tyler Smith is taking sacks every single series, if Conor McGovern is getting a lot of pressure, right?
Yeah.
Then it's time to rearrange some things and see exactly what we can do to kind of fix this. But I would say that if they get through the game, like I said yesterday, 1 sack, 1 penalty, that's kind of the baseline for me and Tyler Smith. Yep. If you can get out of the game above that or less than that, great. If you get at that, that's still fine. If you get more than that, we're at least having a conversation about what is – what are we going to do next week? Are we going to continue to do this experiment and see how it goes?
I fully expect the offense to look choppy, right? There's probably going to be parts of this game where the Cowboys have 3 straight drives that they get 1 first down or fewer, and they're punting back to Tom Brady. Like that's just going to happen, right? But what I want to see is like, hey, were they able to put together 3 really good drives where they were able to march 70 yards and get inside the red zone and get some kind of points? Like, that's what we want to see. And the hope is that, hey, once the offensive line gels a little bit, you'll get Michael Gallup back. Those kind of the clunkiness will get figured out. But we need to at least see 2, 3, 4 drives that look promising, right?
Yeah, agreed. It's hard to kind of quantify specifically what we're looking for, but it's more just like we need to see like a level of baseline talent or belongingness. There's it's not hard to see an NFL player or group and to see whether they belong in the NFL. Yeah. And we need to at least see that, between McGovern and Smith.
I agree. All right. That is it for today's show. Thank you for making Locked On Cowboys your first listen today. Now make your second listen, the Ultimate Pro Football Preview 2022. It is an 8-episode extravaganza to get you ready for the NFL season. The local team experts of the Locked On Podcast Network, plus a betting angle from Lee Sterling, of Locked On Bets, all combining into one ultimate NFL preview. Search for Ultimate Pro Football Preview 2022 on your Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get podcasts. We've got a busy week still. We've got the Locked On Cowboys crossover coming tomorrow with David Harrison of Locked On Bucks. Make sure you check that out. Friday, we've got our preview for the game. We also have an NFC East crossover show that Landon is handling, which, just by the way, last year, nobody picked the Cowboys to win the division, and Cowboys ended up doing that. So just pointing that out there, Landon, before you do that show. Make sure you stand strong up to those rest of those.
I definitely will, and I will try. I don't know that this year the snickers and laughter are quite as appropriate.
You'll get them, though. It's fine.
I'll definitely, keep my face straight as best as I can.
Download the Locked On Cowboys podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Follow Landon at McCool BCB. I am at Marcus _Mosher. See you guys next time.